Wheaton College men's basketball coach Bill Harris might have expected his team to be 11-0 heading into a rigorous conference season. The reality, however, is that the team is 8-3 and struggling for consistency. The Crusaders are blessed with great athleticism and youthful emotion. And mixed in with some All-American type senior talent, they have the potential to be among the best in the nation. The question, however, is can they harness that emotion and use their athleticism to play intelligent basketball? The North Park Vikings have a rich basketball history, but have suffered through the last few seasons. They look to former Northeastern Illinois coach Reese Johnson to reestablish the tradition. He's got a deep bench and a talented quick group to work with. Mix in 2 busloads of crazed fans rolling into Wheaton, and it's high emotion, high-flying college hoops on the Jones Intercable Game of the Week. Still sobbing after Michael announced his retirement, or are you ready to just chuck the whole NBA? In either case, we've got the solution for you. Division III college basketball, no big salaries, in fact, no scholarships. These guys play hard simply for the love of the game. The Crusaders of Wheaton College host Game 1 of their perilous conference season. Each game is a must-win if Bill Harris's group want to return to the NCAA tournament. They host the upstart Vikings of North Park tonight on our Jones Intercable Game of the Week. And hello again, everyone. Welcome to Centennial Gymnasium on the campus of Wheaton College. I'm Jeff Pringle, and once again, Jones Intercable is pleased to bring you wonderful college hoops. Are we at Centennial Gym or are we at North Park University? It's a little bit hard to tell tonight, as Centennial Gym has been absolutely taken over by the North Park Viking faithful. And joining me for the broadcast is my partner, Nate Frank. Nate, interesting things going on here. You wouldn't suspect, as you hear the fans behind us starting to get into it, that this is a 6-5 team coming in tonight's ball game. They've had a kind of a rocky start, a rocky last few seasons. Wheaton College, they've been down the last few years. A little disappointed right now with an 8-3 record, but both teams looking to start their future tonight with the first game of the conference season.
Well, it's a big game. The first game of conference always is, and both these teams are very excited to get started. As you can see, the North Park faithful, coming off of 2 really subpar seasons by North Park expectations, is fired up that this team is off to a 6-5 start. However, they've lost 4 of their last 5 and are looking to get back on track to start the conference season off. Wheaton, on the other hand, 8-3. They've been beating the teams that on paper they should beat, but they've yet to pull off that big victory against a real high-quality opponent. This may be their first chance to do so tonight.
Interesting scenarios for both teams. For North Park, their first year under former Division I coach from Northeastern Illinois, Reese Johnson. He's definitely brought a winning attitude back to the team. As Nate mentioned, they're 6-5. One guy who he's really calling on to lift his team and carry them is Rick Allspach.
Allspach is a great one. He is a pure scorer and certainly one of the top 5 guards in this league. He's averaging over 17 points a game this year, and as a result, he's a guy they need to get going. He needs to have the ball a lot, get into the flow in order to be an effective weapon. Look for North Park to run a lot of sets to him if they get into a situation where they don't feel he's getting enough touches.
Well, Reese Johnson talked to Allspach in the offseason. He told him, you've got to be our main man, our main threat, and he said he's really become a complete basketball player. You add then the likes of Kerry Pates at the point guard position, a guy they didn't have on their recent trip in California. He's back tonight to play. A great leader out on the floor. He can really dish the rock.
Kerry Pates is unbelievable. For the last 2 years, North Park has really been a 2-trick pony. It's been Allspach along with their big man up front, Denny Kaiser. Pates now gives them a third threat. He's tremendous, averaging 14 a game, dishing out the basketball. He's the type of guy that can get to the hole at will, and he'll look to do that tonight.
For Wheaton College, they're led by Rob Hammond. He has been an absolute star right since his freshman year, really. He stepped in as a starter his freshman year. Ever since then, he's been fantastic. Had a little bit of trouble earlier this season with an ankle injury. He is a preseason All-American. Looks like he's back to his regular form tonight.
Well, an injury like that can really slow you down, and Hammond got off to a rough start. But the bottom line is he is the heart and soul of this Crusaders basketball team. He's an All-American through and through. His numbers are a little bit down from the slow start, but look for those to climb.
Along with him, Charles Ridley, who has really picked up the scoring. He was an instant scorer from the time that he started here as a freshman as well. And while Hammond was injured, Ridley really stepped up. Just an instant score, a huge addition to their team on the outside. He also has added the element of defense. According to Bill Harris, he's just turned into a fantastic senior player.
Well, Ridley's a guy who's always been able to score. A lot of people look at him and think he's just a pure shooter, but he finds ways to get his nose around the basket, clean up garbage. He simply scores. Now, as you mentioned, he's added defense to become a complete player and really an all-American prospect in the eyes of many people who follow CCIW basketball.
He can definitely shoot the three. We'll see him do that tonight. We had a chance to talk to Bill Harris about the North Park squad, his expectations. This is what he had to say.
Much improved. They're deeper, they're much more athletic. You know, Reese Johnson came from Northeast Illinois when they dropped their program at the Division I level. He's brought a new enthusiasm to them. You know, they've had some talented players anyway. They returned 2 all-conference players in Kaiser and Allspach, along with some new players. It's JUCO transfer and some very, very talented young men. They're a much, much different team than they were the last few years. And there's a lot of excitement. I've been told that they've already got 2 fan buses filled to bring out here, and really want to make fun of some of our traditions out here, which North Park has done over the years. But very, very representative team, and is capable of beating anybody in the conference on a given night.
Certainly are capable of beating anyone in the conference on a given night, and it helps when you've got crowd support like they have here tonight. What a crowd that they brought in. I guess there's probably a couple hundred people here from North Park, and that sort of enthusiasm can only help.
You're absolutely right. They had 215 people walk through the doors all at the same time, circle the gymnasium. They really took Centennial Gymnasium here by storm. That's going to help this young team get going. They've got to feel like they're almost playing at home. Wheaton, on the other hand, needs to battle through it. They've got enough veteran leadership that I don't think the crowd will be a real factor.
Well, the thing is that's very interesting for both these teams. Both coaches earlier this week mentioned consistency and focus as one of their concerns. Something like this could add to that as well, but it is interesting that both Reese Johnson and Bill Harris have mentioned that they haven't been happy throughout the season with their team's consistency. That's got to be something they establish as they come into the CCIW season.
Well, you got to be consistent to win in the CCIW, especially this year, because it's really an 8-team race to win it. You have 1 or 2 down nights, drop a couple games that you shouldn't, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself out of it. However, if you can go into the last week of the season with 9-10 wins, anything can happen. You may find yourself on top of the conference, headed to the national tournament.
And Nate, you know as well as anybody that Coach Bill Harris always emphasizes defense. He hasn't been real pleased with their defense or their rebounding. Both coaches said that as well. Reese Johnson mentioned that his North Park team, their offense has been shaky. Their defense has been a little shaky as well. Very concerned about rebounding also.
Rebounding's big. Both these teams like to get up tempo. In order to do so, you got to get the ball and get out and go. To do that, you start on the glass.
Well, it'll be a fantastic ball game. We're going to add a new member to our team as well. If you can have 2 Wheaton College graduates, I guess you can bring in a third. We'll be back with Josh Hall on the sideline, as well as our opening tip and starters right after this on the Jones Intercable Game of the Week.
Is ground zero for huge thrills on pay-per-view.
We're looking at a new species, the first of its kind.
City officials are describing as the worst act of destruction since the World Trade Center bombing.
Fire at will!
Godzilla comes home on pay-per-view.
Some businesses provide many things. At Jones Intercable, our primary focus is delivering high-quality cable programming to your community. We're determined to provide not just great service and exclusive programming, but to give back to the community. How many businesses claim to do that? When you're selecting a cable service, look for someone who has an eye on your community. Jones Intercables. Our local voice is the smart choice.
The Jones Intercable Game of the Week is brought to you by Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria. Located at 455 West Roosevelt Road in Glen Ellen, enjoy their world-famous stuffed pizza. Pickup or delivery. And welcome back to a Viking Crazy Centennial Gymnasium on the campus of Wheaton College. Along with my partner, Nate Frank, I'm Jeff Pringle. We're going to send it down to our third man on the sideline. Here's Josh Hall.
This was supposed to be a home game for the Crusaders, but as you can see, North Park brought over 150 fans here to cheer on the visiting Vikings. This is their rivalry game. This is the game that makes or breaks the season if they can beat the Wheaton College Crusaders. That's why their fans are here. Thanks, Jeff. We'll go back to you now.
All right, thank you very much, Josh. We'll be going to Josh throughout the ball game. Another graduate of Wheaton College and a young man very familiar with Crusader basketball in the athletic department. He was very closely involved with the ongoings here as one of the equipment managers over the years, and also a big part of WETN FM 88's broadcast of Crusader basketball. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups for the 6-5 North Park Vikings and the 8-3 Wheaton College Crusaders. You see Senek at the point guard. That is the younger brother of assistant coach Jason Senek. Travis Senek is a young man who's really stepped in, done a nice job. Not naturally a point guard, but has adapted to that position. Luke Moo in the center, a big athletic sophomore. Of course, Charles Ridley, we talked about him and his scoring, along with Rob Hammond, back from the injury. And an interesting story as well in Michael Collins, the power forward, or the off forward, who stands 6'7", a transfer from Bradley. I'd say the Crusaders physically have the advantage, Nate.
Well, they certainly do. They have a great starting five. The matchups to keep your eye on are the Pates-Senek matchup at the point guard and the Allspock-Ridley matchup. Both Coach Harris and Coach Schauer for Wheaton College said that if Charles Ridley can maintain and play with Rich Allspock, the Crusaders should win tonight. That'll be an interesting one to look at as the game progresses.
Well, it's always fun to watch the guys like Charles Ridley, who I knew when he was a freshman and a sophomore, become really not only a great scorer, but a great defensive player as well. The fact that he has got the assignment on Allspock says a lot about his growth and progression as an all-around player.
It certainly does. Charles would be the first to admit that when he came in as a freshman, and even for parts over the last couple of years, his defense was less than stellar. It's something that is stressed in the Wheaton College program and something that Charles has taken to heart. Finally this year, we're really seeing him as a complete player, a guy who can not only get you 20 points a game, but hold other teams' scores down below their averages.
Well, he is averaging big numbers, Ridley, as there you get a good look at Reese Johnson, first-year coach after coming over from Northeastern Illinois after they decided to stop their basketball program, and has had an instant effect as the team won a total of 3 ball games last year. Here's the opening tip, tipped around and comes right into us, and Nate, quick hands as ever.
That's always nice to get involved early. I like to get an early touch, much like Bill Cartwright in his days with the Bulls. If you could get me a touch early, odds are it's going to be a pretty good game. We'll have to see how that gets us into it here.
Well, I hope later on we'll hear from Jack Ecker. He evidently is in the crowd, and our man Josh Hall is going to look to get an interview with him. Jack Ecker, one of the greats from North Park Viking basketball lore in the last 4 or 5 years. He used to have some great duos with my partner Nate Frank. It'd be fun to hear about him. Here's Ben Zeitz working down low. Strong move, and he will draw the foul. Ben Zeitz, a young man that I'm familiar with, had a great high school career at St. Charles High School under Ron Johnson. Kind of bounced around after going to Waubonsee Community College. Now is here at North Park and is a big physical force inside.
It really is. He's doing a good job being one of those secondary scorers behind the big three we mentioned in the open. He's averaging 7 points a game and does a good job of getting in there, mixing it up, grabbing a few boards for the Vikings as well.
First shot drops for Zeitz. There you get a look at Reese Johnson again. Johnson was saying how much he likes Zeitz. He said he is a man out there after his many travels around collegiate basketball. Is a very mature young man and one that he loves to have on his team.
Well, when North Park was at their best, late 80s, even into the early 90s, they played a physical, intimidating style of basketball. You know that they would like to get back to that as they try to regain their success that won them 5 national champions in the 70s and 80s.
Well, Zeitz is actually playing in place of Denny Kaiser, who started most of the season. Zeitz has started 5 in 11 games thus far. Rob Hammond on the left baseline guarded by Zeitz, and he will draw the foul, and that'll be the first for Zeitz and the first team foul for the Vikings.
Tones being said earlier, we've had whistles at both ends on each team's first possession. There's a good crew of CCIW officials. They want to keep it under control from the opening tip.
This is Travis Senek working on the point, guarded by Pates. Hands off for Charles Ridley. Look for Ridley to score instantly. Shot, little jump hook is great touch, and Ridley puts it in. Crusaders up 2-0, or 2-1.
Jeff, he can score in so many ways. A lot of people think of him as just a spot-up three-point shooter, but you see there, he does a good job of getting in, getting his defender off balance, and then a great pivot back to the open jump shot.
1 minute into the action here in the first half, 2-1 Crusader lead. Three-point shot on the way from Allsbach, and you can't give him a look like that.
He's been doing that for years here in the CCIW. He's been a guy who's played the better part of his 3 years here, and he can flat fill it from downtown.
Missed shot and a steal there. Ben Zeitz can't put it back. Here come the Crusaders. Luke Moo right side, showing a good handle for a big man. Nice soft touch as well to finish it off.
Moo, for a guy who goes about 240 pounds, can really handle the rock. The better he does early, the more he can put pressure on Kaiser. That'll keep Kaiser being as effective on the offensive end of the floor.
Tied up at 4 apiece, a minute and a half into the action. Pates right side, now top of the key for Allsbach. They work it around left side. Allsbach again. Back to Pates. The 2 leading scorers for this team will probably take the bulk of their shots, although they will look to get Zeitz involved as well. Here's Zeitz. Nice dish underneath for Pates. Goes with the right hand, and just before the shot clock expires, Pates puts it in. It's a 6-4 North Park lead.
Well, there you see the veteran know-how of Zeitz. He could have forced up a shot that might not have been the best one. He knew exactly how much time he had on the shot clock. Found Pates underneath for the easy 2.
Want to remind you that this and all our Jones Intercable Game of the Weeks are brought to you by Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria, located at 455 West Roosevelt Road in Glen Ellen. Enjoy their world-famous stuffed pizza. Call up Nick Theodore, Terry, and all the gang at Giordano's. The phone number is 790-1717.
And despite getting off to an early 2-point lead, 6-4, North Park takes a 20-second timeout. Obviously, Reese Johnson sees something he wants to adapt to early on, maybe something in one of the first Crusader offensive possessions, something he'd like to adapt to. On North Park's last offensive possession, we saw pretty much the offense they'll be running all night. They run a 5-man motion, get everybody involved, and when push comes to shove, you'll see a guy come out and look to screen for Pates. That time, Kaiser was the man setting the screen. If Pates can get into the interior, a lot can happen for North Park offensively.
Substitution here as Nick Otten comes in. Luke Moo takes a seat. 6-4 North Park lead. And it will be Keith Peterson to inbound at half court. Crusader fans still piling in. Tuesday night ball games are always hard to get a good crowd on hand. Here's Zeitz underneath. Strong move up against Otten. A very powerful move for Ben Zeitz, and he has got 3 points.
That's a matchup the Crusaders have got to be concerned about right now. Obviously, Coach Harris trying Otten on him now. Wants to see what they can do, but Zeitz has been an effective part of just about every time North Park has had the basketball.
Strong move there for Otten with Collins. Ball on the floor. Back to Otten. Crusaders do have great size, but maybe their skill under the hoop is a little lacking at this point as a steal there for the Vikings. Pates backs it out to half court. 8-4 North Park lead. Bounce pass down low for Zeitz. Alters his shot in midair and now draws the foul.
Zeitz is a guy they cannot afford to have to do special stuff for. They've got to worry too much about Allsbach, Pates, as well as Kaiser. If they've got to go to a special defense to stop what Zeitz has been doing early, that's going to open up too much for the guys who are really their key scoring threats.
First foul for Nick Otten, second for the team. Take another look at it here. Zeitz really establishing himself down underneath the hoop. Goes up, draws the foul, and makes his first free throw there. So he is 2 of 3 from the free throw line thus far. And he is really a big, strong guy. You know, he tried to play college football at COD, and then, of course, the program was aborted there. So went on to Waubonsee to play basketball. Kind of bounced around quite a bit. Obviously, a very big, powerful athlete. 2 of 4 from the free throw line and a 9-4 North Park lead. Hammond, he needs to establish himself under the hoop, and his shot is just off, but he will draw the foul from Ben Zeitz.
That's a matchup the Crusaders are going to have to look to exploit. Hammond great in the post, but he also will have a good quickness advantage on Zeitz from the perimeter. Should be able to get some good looks from downtown. Right now the Crusaders are running their basic motion set. Did a good job of finding Hammond down on the post for the foul.
Ridley easily finds Senek. Now around to Collins, down low for Hammond. Strong move up and over Zeitz, and Hammond finding himself some action under the hoop.
That's the kind of smoothness that tells you Rob Hammond has come back entirely from that early season ankle injury that had plagued him throughout the first 7-8 games of the 98-99 campaign.
Zeitz working under the hoop, kicks it out for Peterson. Now Hammond on the floor trying to create the steal. And that's one thing that Rob Hammond does that many players in the past haven't. You know, I asked Steve Schweppner, compare a senior year Rob Hammond to a senior year Jason Senek. And he said that Hammond does all those other things in addition. He does the steals, the assists, gets involved in every single aspect of the game, and you can see him doing that right there. 9-6 North Park lead. Crusaders looking to break the press, 3.5 minutes into the action. Hammond alley-oop for Mo and the slam!
That was some nice punctuation. And Travis Senek standing back on the opposite side of the court took a long look over at the North Park crowd as if to say, we're ready to play with your team here tonight.
Well, if anything, this North Park crowd is hopefully going to get the Crusader crowd more into it, or more people out to the ball games, because as we said on a Tuesday night, it's hard to fill the gym. Shot off the right baseline, in and out, no good. Tipped around as Moo, a strong rebound, and he will draw the foul. Coming up on the foul was Brian Green.
Great job not only by Moo, but also Travis Senek. He's a great rebounder for a point guard. That's one of the real assets he brings you. He did a fantastic job of getting in, getting that ball, and keeping it alive for Moo to grab it. There you see a great look at the dunk. Hammond read that one all the way, and Moo with those great ups and strong finishes puts it down for 2.
There's another great look for Moo, but doesn't quite finish that one. Follows his shot, puts it up, and that one will count.
Getting the big boy involved early. He's such an emotional player. He can really give Wheaton a lift if he keeps playing like he's done through the first 4.5 minutes of this one.
Moo with 6 points early. He leads all scorers. Left side, Allsbach, long three-pointer. What a sweet jumper that was.
So very pure, Jeff. You can't say it enough. You give him just a half a look, and he's capable of bearing it right in your face.
Kerry Pates called for the travel. He got the call from the official. Travis Senek commits the travel, and the Vikings will have it back. As checking into the action is Brian Adams.
Another key to this game will be how Wheaton College can handle the North Park press. They love to up-tempo it. They'll pick up man-to-man. Sometimes they'll pick up 1-2, 1-1 after the score. We can get some easy scores if they break it, but on the other side of the coin can give North Park some easy chances if they turn the ball over against the press.
Shot on the way from Denny Kaiser. He drains the 15-footer.
Kaiser at first glance looks like an interior player. He's big, he's a strong kid. He's got a very smooth touch. Don't be surprised to see him cast a few up from downtown before this one's all said and done.
Crusaders calmly breaking the full court pressure. Collins with it right side. Like to see Mike Collins do something with the basketball. Struggles a little bit with his dribble. Now a bad pass to Luke Moo, but Moo controls. Looking for the pass back is Moo, but now it'll be Senek right side.
They really got to continue to look inside. I mean, he can get Kaiser in a lot of foul trouble if they punch in against him. He can't handle Moo in the post.
Travis Senek in a carbon copy three-point shot we saw from his brother many, many times in years past. And Senek brings him back to within 1. Great action through the first 6 minutes. 14-13 North Park lead. Nice turnaround jumper there from Kaiser. You pointed out that Denny Kaiser's been around forever, and I'd agree. I remember him from 2 or 3 years ago. In and out from Travis Senek. Vikings with the rebound.
Well, that Hammond-Kaiser matchup's one we've been seeing now for 3.5 years. It's been a great one. They've had some great battles. Kaiser's put up some big numbers against Hammond, but Hammond has never seen his team lose to North Park, home or away.
You hate to see that if you're a Crusader fan. Rob Hammond limping down the center of the court.
Looks like he may have tweaked an ankle. He'll try to walk that one off and get back into the action, though. It shouldn't affect him. He's a very tough customer, the high pain threshold.
Pates will inbound to Allsbach. Now back out to the top of the key, Jabari Lanier. Lanier guarded by Collins.
They like Lanier off the bench, too, as a scoring threat. He's done some good work already this year, 5.3 a game.
Almost loses the ball there. Good defense from Collins. Now hands off for Pates. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Back out to Kaiser. Three-pointer. Rims in and out. No good.
That's what North Park hasn't had in years past. This guy can get in the lane and make things happen. They haven't had that since Keith Bourne graduated. That time Kaiser missed the shot, but the great Pates penetration opened up a good three-point look for him.
Charles Ridley draws the foul from Allsbach. For North Park, Zeitz has 2. Allsbach just picked up his first. And I'm missing one in there somewhere because the team has 5. Ridley back out to Senek, top of the key. 13 minutes to go first half. 14-13 North Park advantage. Hammond, three-pointer on the way. A sweet jump shot for Rob Hammond. He's got his touchback, and the Crusaders have their first lead of the game.
Well, you can tell Hammond's feeling it, and that little ankle tweak isn't affecting him at all. Right now, if North Park expects to guard him with Brian Green all night, Hammond could be in for a huge night offensively.
Kaiser, strong move under the hoop after he got control of the basketball. He's got 4. Score tied up at 16 all. Here comes Travis Senek. Nice dish down low for Hammond. Back to Moo. Moo goes up for the dunk and draws the foul from number 50, Brian Green. And Nate, being a former All-American low post man here at Wheaton College, what do you think of young Luke Moo as a sophomore?
Well, as far as intensity goes, you won't find a guy who brings it harder than Moo. This replay we're going to see here shows you that when he gets under the basket, he wants to try to finish every time. Look at that. He was going to go up. Oh, this was, yeah, there's the look. We didn't get to see the finish there. He's got a little bit of work to do still on his post moves, and he knows it as well as anybody. Once he gets to the point where he can make a good drop step and throw up a nice hook shot, left and right-handed, he will be a completely unstoppable force throughout the entire CCIW conference.
And Moo drops 1 of 2 free throws. It's a 1-point lead for Wheaton College. Both these teams with decent height. Definitely Wheaton College having the edge there. But I'd have to say, although the height isn't great, they have got pretty tall athletes. Moo at 6'6" is obviously very athletic, a great leaper. Collins at 6'7", the same story, and Hammond at 6'7" as well. And for North Park, it's Zeitz.
And with Wheaton, don't forget, off the bench, you can bring Nick Otten, who's 6'7", and can throw it down with the best of them, as well as the 6'9" Joel Eckert. So they've definitely got enough height to be very competitive among as big a team as you could throw at them.
A little confusion on the court as Ridley tried to go after the loose ball.
Reese Johnson pleading his case. He wanted it going down the other way. Wheaton will maintain possession.
Travis Senek will inbound. Checking in there is Tor Erickson.
Look for them to try to get Ridley a 3 in the corner here. He's well guarded, so they just inbound to move.
17-16, Wheaton College lead. 11:55 remaining first half. Ridley under the hoop. Guarded by Allsbach, but a great move for Charles Ridley.
I can't say enough about his body control. He knows exactly how to wedge each part of his body, whether it's his rear end or his elbow. Uses those pivot feet so well and has such great awareness of where the basket is when he gets under there. He is a tremendous finisher for a guy his size down low.
And I have to say, he looks about the exact same size he did as a freshman, just 6'1", but Kaiser, a strong move. Count the basket and the foul for Denny Kaiser. A war down under the hoop right now.
You can tell these North Park players are really drawing energy from this large crowd sitting right behind us. Every time they score, every time a big play is made, they look over and get a huge response. That's going to be huge. If this game stays close, the North Park crowd could be enough to give North Park that extra boost it needs.
Foul is on Travis Senek. That's his first and the team's third. Kaiser rims around and drops that shot. 7 points for Denny Kaiser, and the score is knotted up at 19. 11:29 remaining first half. Moo with the dribble. You don't see too many big guys bringing down the court for Bill Harris. And there's Rob Hammond. They give him the 3. I thought maybe he was on the line there, but a big shot for Rob Hammond.
Well, I got to tell you, it's 2 different Hammonds. The one we saw before the break, having some tough shooting outings up at Hope, even here at home at University of Chicago, and the one we're seeing now, he is playing with so much confidence. He's the best player in the conference when he's shooting the ball well.
Great backdoor cut there for Rick Allsbach. He's got 8. Nice offense as well for the North Park Vikings. Senek right side, down low to Ridley, now to Moo. Moo cutting inside and count it for Luke Moo. An opportunity for a 3-point play. Moo now with 9 points and a chance to make it 10.
Moo is built like a brick house. He gets in the lane there. He's got Kaiser all over him at 230 pounds and still has the muscle to get it up and put it in. Tremendous finish by Moo. Let's see if he can convert the 3-point play.
That one is right through the heart, and it's a 25-21 Wheaton College lead.
Got to give Luke Moo some credit. He came in as a freshman, was about a 50% free throw shooter. He's up to 77% this year, so he's putting a lot of time in the gym and in the offseason working on those ever-important free throws.
This is Lanier now around for Kaiser, right side for Allsbach. Kerry Pates will back it out and set up the offense.
This is same motion set almost every time, and then finally somebody will step out and try to run the pick and roll with Pates, well guarded by Wheaton that time.
Here's Lanier trying to put it up and over. Collins can't do so, gets his own rebound and puts it back in.
That's a tough break. Great block shot by Michael Collins. He's got to stay with the play, though. Lanier did a tremendous job of following his shot after it was blocked. His effort paid off as he was able to finish with 2.
This is Collins, 2-point lead for Wheaton College as we hit the 10-minute point.
Both coaches happy with their offenses right now, probably a little bit displeased with their defenses, which are on pace to give up 50 and 46 points respectively.
Ridley just off the mark. Collins tried to tip it back in, couldn't do so. Pates on the drive, that's out of control, and Hammond. And that had to be one of the first 4 shots we've seen taken.
Well, Travis Sennick did a tremendous job of beating Pates to the spot he wanted to get to. Pates ran out of options, almost traveled, and then forced up a bad shot.
Here's Moo going up strong, out of control again, looking for the foul, but won't get it.
Like to see Moo jump stop, collect himself, and then muscle it up instead of trying to float in. He's much better with power than he is with finesse.
Now we've got a double dribble call. That's the thing about a guy like Moo, although he is only 6'6", as we mentioned, he has got great athletic ability. The foul called on Denny Kaiser, who you see just a moment ago, will take a seat now. Reese Johnson not too pleased. First foul for Kaiser and the 7th for the Vikings.
One of the things the Crusaders were concerned about when I talked to assistant coach Mike Schauer was that they got enough post-up opportunities to keep North Park honest. So far, they've done a good job of getting it inside to Hammond and Moo. Let's see if now Otten can get into the mix as he comes into play in the post as well.
2-point lead, Wheaton College, 9 minutes remaining first half. Great pass, Hammond down low, Moo, body control, and a nice duck under for Luke Moo.
Great cut baseline. I think he might have gotten a back screen from Sennick, which Moo used to perfection. Found underneath and finished strong.
Luke Moo now has 12 by my count. Up under the hoop is Tor Erickson, stripped away, and the Crusaders will bring it back down.
Hammond might have gotten away with one, and the North Park faithful are calling for a foul as Erickson went strong to the hoop. But the officials ruled that Hammond got a good piece of the ball and no body, and the Crusaders take over.
Helps to be a senior in the CCIW too, doesn't it? After a few years, the officials get to know you, and a class guy like Hammond as well obviously develops a relationship, and after a while may get a few favorable calls. We've got a call here on Tor Erickson. That is his first, and as we said, Crusaders now in the bonus.
Well, you're absolutely right. Getting back to Hammond, these officials do enough games with enough of these teams that they know who's out there playing a clean style, just playing hard. They also know guys who are in there hacking and trying to commit fouls and trying to rough people up. Hammond, obviously one of those guys who plays it clean, well-respected guy. He'll get the benefit of the doubt more often than not.
Moo dropped the first. He'll measure the second on the way, and that one is good. And 14 points for Luke Moo. 14 of the Crusaders' 29. They lead by 6.
What a force he's been. You know he loves getting up for these big conference games.
On the drive here is J.R. Jackson. That shot will rim around and drop.
Smooth roll. You're already getting a look at how deep this North Park team is, or at least believes they are. They've probably played 9 to 10 guys here early through the first 12 minutes. That's something they haven't had in years past. Fatigue has been a problem in the past couple of years as they've been shallow. Now they've got the guys to go deep into a game, remain fresh, and remain competitive.
Vikings also with 5 guys having scored. Here's Hammond, turnaround jump shot. He now has 10 points. Crusaders have just 4 guys on the board.
That's a mismatch. Jermaine Robinson, J.R. Jackson at 6'4", can't guard the 6'6" Hammond down there, especially a night where Hammond is dropping in shots that hit nothing but net.
This is Pates creating for himself, and a nice shot there. That's one thing that Reese Johnson pointed out Kerry Pates is very capable of doing. Not only can he create for his teammates, but create shots for himself. Brian Walker called for the jump ball there, and that will go back to Wheaton College.
Well, you get a good look at how athletic Pates is. The other thing with him is that you can't just play off him and play for the drive. He's shooting 47% from downtown. So if you give him a step or two, he'll put that one in your eye, but he'd rather drive first and foremost, and that's something the Crusaders will have to take away tonight.
Excuse me, Steve Schwepper was saying the possession arrow favored Wheaton College. In reality, it goes back to North Park. 31-27 lead for the Crusaders. 7 minutes to go, first half.
Well, the possession arrow did favor Wheaton College. That's that new defensive tie-up rule, new in college basketball this year, where if the defense ties up the offensive player, it's automatically the defense ball. No switch of the possession arrow, and that's what we saw in that last call. And that's why North Park has the basketball.
4-point lead for the Crusaders. Nice turnaround jump shot there. That was Jermaine Robinson. And it's just a 2-point lead. Senek on the drive, lays it up with the left hand and count it.
A year ago, that's something Travis Senek wouldn't have looked to do. He was purely in there trying to distribute, looking for his shot, his scoring opportunity as maybe a third or fourth option. That time he saw the seam, and as you'll see here, he exploits it and does a great job taking off 6-7 feet from the basket, of controlling it, kissing it off the glass, and scoring it.
Nick Otten checks in as Moo takes the seat. And Senek will have a chance for 2 free throws. Or excuse me, 1 to complete the 3-point play, and he does.
Just like that, Brian Walker checks back in, looking to keep Senek fresh.
Walker, a senior from Cincinnati, Ohio.
My guess is anytime Pate steps off the floor, as he's done now, you'll see Senek sit down. The same will go for that Ridley-Allspaw matchup more often than not. Coach Harris knows if he can keep Ridley and Senek fresh, they'll be able to defend the tough Pates and Allspaw.
Oh, tough pass from Walker. Otten can't make it go. There's Walker to tip it back to Otten. He goes up, jump ball, and once again it goes back to the Vikings.
That's a rule I'm not sure about. My verdict's still out on that whole defensive tie-up deal. In years past, the jump ball's been a jump ball. Maybe I'm just a little bit of a traditionalist, but I'd like to see the rule remain as it was.
Well, Reese Johnson will call a timeout with 6:16 to go. 34-29 Crusader lead. We'll send it down to Josh Hall on the sideline with an update.
It was key for the Crusaders to hold that initial push by North Park. They came out with all the momentum with their fans in the background. The Crusaders just got back from Seattle. They were on a trip, their Christmas trip. They didn't get in Sunday night till 6:45. They got in a bus wreck on the way home. So it's key for them to get through this. They had a good practice yesterday. They're up by 5 with about 6:15 left to go here in the half. They should be able to get through this initial push and stay on.
All right, thank you very much, Josh. I think it brings up a good point. It seemed like the momentum definitely right from the start seemed to be the Vikings. Crusaders took it back. The Vikings made another push, but it seems at this point Wheaton College able to hold that off a little bit with a 5-point lead.
Well, no doubt about it. North Park came out very fired up, got great early play from Zeitz. Well, I'm sure they'll look to get back into the game here before too long. He did a good job not only of getting it down low and drawing fouls, but also of distributing. Allspaw hit a couple of quick threes. He's been silent the last couple minutes. He won't remain silent for long, believe me. Rick Allspaw will get this team back in it. But right now, Wheaton's done a good job of capturing that early momentum and wrestling it out of the Vikings' hands.
That's a tough call for Reese Johnson because, yeah, as you said, it was Zeitz who gave him a lift right from the start. Ben Zeitz started off with a quick couple of baskets and some free throws. He was definitely really bringing the momentum to the Vikings. And then he picked up a couple fouls, and Johnson had to sit him out, and he hasn't been back to the ballgame since.
Yeah, that foul trouble, it'll hurt you, especially a new player like Zeitz. He's a junior, but he's new to the league. The officials don't know him. As we were talking about earlier with Hammond, the opposite will be the case. Zeitz is not going to get the benefit of the doubt most of the time.
Bringing down now is Chaz Taft. Throws right side for Jackson.
Taft's a guy who played a lot last year, seen his minutes reduced as North Park has improved. He's a spark plug type player. A guy can come in, give you some quality minutes, and really get up on a guy defensively.
With the basketball, top of the key is Jeremy Aniseed. On the drive, off the back iron, and Collins there for the rebound. 5:46 to go, first half, 5-point lead, Wheaton College.
Collins shows you his great quick jumping ability there as he closed the gap between himself and that rebound in no time at all. And there we get a look at Charles Ridley. So tough to guard. He'll bang the three if you lay off him. He'll go to the hole if you get up on him. That time draws the foul. He'll go to the line. He's playing like a big-time player. Player he's been billed as so far this season.
Allspaw picks up his second foul and the team's 10th. Ridley with an opportunity for 2, and he drops the first free throw. When you saw Charles Ridley come into the Crusader program, did you expect that he'd be the player he is now as a senior?
I really didn't. I knew he had some offensive tools, but physically, and no offense to Charles, in fact, it's more of a compliment, he's not the most physically talented guy. He's not particularly big. He's not a particularly great leaper. You and I may be quicker than he is, but he has such a knack for how to play the game of basketball and how to create scoring chances for himself. He's an amazing player and the kind of guy I have all the admiration in the world for.
Collins called for the travel, a tough one there, and you're right. For a guy who was a pure shooter, he doesn't have the prettiest jump shot either.
No, it really isn't. You look at Mike Schauer, their assistant coach, talk to him about it. He's the guy who teaches most of the shooting. There's 5 or 6 guys who may have better looking jump shots than Ridley, but he's the type of guy who grew up in Indiana, spent all his time in the gym and at the playground. And I'll tell you what, a lot of practice can overcome bad technique, and we've seen Ridley do that. He banks shots like they're going out of style.
Strong move down low for Robinson, tipped around, brought up by the Crusaders. Ridley, long bounce pass ahead to Travis Senek. A great look for Charles Ridley.
Right now, Wheaton's got to be very happy with the tempo. It's not too fast that they're playing out of control, but it's been quick enough that they've been able to get some good fast break chances, and really any pressure North Park has put on has not had much effect on the Crusader backcourt.
Shot off the mark for the Vikings. Ball on the ground. Moo fighting for it with J.R. Jackson, and now Senek comes up with it.
They kept the stat times on the floor going after a loose ball. Luke Moo would lead the conference every year. He's not afraid to throw that big 240-pound body around. Makes a lot of big plays for the Crusaders as a result.
Moo, great effort on the rebound. Looks like he comes up a little bit gimpy. Might have got an elbow in the ribs. Now down low, it's Robinson working again. Moo fighting for the rebound. You got to love his effort. He's mad because he got it looked like a real stinging elbow in those left ribs.
The type of player Moo is, though. He gets a cheap shot, he takes a hit, it only gets him more fired up. Last year it might have gotten him so fired up he would have taken a dumb foul. This year it seems like he just keeps playing harder and harder. Instead of hurting the team, he turns something bad into a positive and starts playing harder.
Take another look at this bounce pass from Charles Ridley, and great camera work on the other end from Dan Knight as Travis Senek completes the fast break.
Tremendous look from Ridley. That half-court bounce pass is not an easy one to make, and he put that right in the hands of Travis Senek. Made it very easy for him to finish on the break.
Jermaine Robinson picks up his first, and now Moo will go to the free throw line. A 9-point Crusader lead, 38-29, 4 minutes remaining first half. Moo, first free throw. Very nice touch from Luke Moo.
I was just about to say it can't be too long before Reese Johnson gets his big hogs back in there. He's down 10, it'll be 11 if Moo hits that one, and as a result, there's Kaiser at the scores table. They need his punch back in. Allsbach with 2 fouls. They don't want to get him in any deeper. They can ill afford to lose him down the stretch. But right now, you got to take some chances with your guys. Get them in there, even if they're not fresh or in a little bit of foul trouble, and make sure this game stays close going into the half.
Pates left side, top of the key. Robinson, that's Jackson. Shot off the mark on the floor. And a great effort from Travis Senek, who gets the ball and calls timeout. We talked about rebounds being a key to this ball game, and the Crusaders have dominated on the glass. Not so much, I would say, because of their size, but because of the hustle and the effort they have shown, principally led by a guy like Luke Moo.
Well, Moo's been great. You expect a lot of rebounds out of him. He's averaging 6 a game. The thing that helps the Crusaders a lot is they get pretty good rebounding out of their starting guards. Ridley's averaging over 4, Travis averaging about 3.5. That's great work. You've got a total 5-man rebounding concept. And to rebound well at any level, it's got to be 5 guys going to the glass. The Crusaders have that, and it's been evident here so far.
There you see Bill Harris, who came to Wheaton College, his very first recruit, the man sitting next to me, and began to build a program that has become perennially one of the strongest in the country. And there are a couple of folks who have built a family that's got to be one of the strongest in the country. Those are my folks, Fred and Lois Pringle, who are nice enough to brave the elements.
It's good to see the Pringles. I'll be looking forward to talking to them after the game. That's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you an amazing thing. Starting out as one of Harris's first recruits, he kind of built a foundation of feathers and straw, but he's turned it into a brick house with the guys he has on the floor right now. This Hammond's one of them as he goes up, makes a great post move.
And then steals the ball right back from Kaiser, but he can't complete. You can see Hammond's a little frustrated, but you got to love the effort.
He's frustrated. 2 things he did very well there. Tremendous post move on the step under, and then staying with it. Just wasn't able to put it in. You have to wonder, perhaps he's a little tired as it winds down to halftime.
Senek, good look up, left side for Hammond, now Ridley. Charles Ridley, who typically I think of looking to shoot first, but seems to be looking to pass more tonight, which is a very positive thing. Ball bounces off the official's leg. Hammond dives after it, goes out of bounds, and will be North Park basketball.
Kenny Faulkner right on the call. Hammond did a good job of hustling, but must have just slid on the end line. Right now, I feel like the Crusaders really want this game. They're playing very hard at both ends of the floor. You see them diving after loose balls. That generally dictates how a team is going to succeed in a game.
Great look at Nick Otten as he checks in. Moo checks out. 2:55 remaining first half, 40-29. Crusader lead. Allsbach, right side. This is Pates. Pates down to Kaiser. Kaiser was very active down low. Otten comes up. But before that, I believe there was a foul going to be called on Rob Hammond, and I believe it's against, yes, it is against Rob Hammond. That'll be his first, the team's fourth.
It's on Hammond, and a couple of problems defensively there for the Crusaders. First of all, Robbie Hammond can't let that pass get in there. And second of all, Nick Houghton's got to be quicker with the help. If Houghton's right there like a brick wall, being one of the strongest guys in the league, Hammond's not forced into a situation where he's got a foul. As a result, Hammond picks up a foul. Fortunately for the Crusaders, it's only his first of the game.
Kaiser drops the free throw. Down to a 10-point lead. This could make it single digits, and Kaiser does as he completes both free throws.
Kaiser's another guy who's worked hard on his foul shooting over the years. He was down in the low 60s when he first came into the league. He's now up to 73%. When a guy handles the ball as much as he does down low, as well as on the perimeter, you've got to be able to hit those foul shots. You'll be at the foul line very often.
Michael Collins hasn't had an opportunity to shoot much. He takes one there. It's just off the back iron and rebounded by Peterson. Having not seen Collins play much here at Wheaton College, I would like to see him take some more, have more opportunities, but he hasn't had too many open looks tonight.
No, he sure hasn't. Obviously, an athlete like him, teams are very worried about. He gives them a good threat who's available when needed, but so far with the way Moo, Hammond, and Ridley have played, as well as Travis Senek, Collins hasn't been a guy they've had to look to. That's the great thing about Michael Collins. He's more than willing to do the small things. He doesn't need to score to be effective or feel like he's a part of the action.
Well, as the offense began to slow a little for Wheaton College, Charles Ridley decided to take back over. He cuts through, draws the foul. That'll be number 3 on Allsbach, and that's nice for the Crusaders.
There are some games, and it seems like this year, almost every game, where you just feel like Charles Ridley, every time he touches it, is going to be able to generate some kind of quality scoring chance, whether it's pulling up in somebody's face from downtown or getting into the basket on either a drive or a back cut. This is one of those nights. Anytime he touches it, Reese Johnson and the North Park staff have to cringe at what the possible outcome might be.
Ridley measuring the second. That one is good. He was very upset that he missed the first one. He's 3 of 4 now by my count from the free throw line. A 10-point lead for Wheaton College, under 2 minutes to play. Pates right side. Tim Nemeth at the top of the key. He's got the basketball right now. Back out for Peterson. Now it's Kaiser under the hoop. Kicks out. Ball stripped away, but regained by J.R. Jackson. 10 seconds on the shot clock. To Kaiser under the hoop. Kaiser goes up strong. Great soft touch from Denny Kaiser, and he has got 11.
And he finishes so well in there. He just keeps throwing that big body around and around until he finds himself some room. That time North Park very patient after coming up with the loose ball, found Kaiser, and he scored easily off the glass.
Travis Senek right side. Pulls up for the shot, but we've got an offensive foul.
We're going to get an illegal screen against Nick Otten. Didn't really get a good look at it. Anytime he does something, though, being a guy his size who can bench almost 350, 375 pounds, the officials are going to notice it, so he's got to be very ginger coming up to set those on-ball screens.
Joel Eckert checks into the ball game now. What an interesting story he is. Number 40 at the top of your screen there. Big 6'9", 220-pound Joel Eckert. Nice move there on the hoop from Peterson, and Eckert gets the basketball.
Joel Eckert is a very interesting story. An All-American coming out of high school. Sat out his freshman year here, played his sophomore year, and then had 2 consecutive ACL tears that cost him 2 seasons. It's great to see him back on the court. He's worked so very hard. His game's not quite back to the level he'd like it to be. But if he continues to work, the confidence will slowly build. And as the season progresses, he'll become a bigger factor for Bill Harris's Crusader lineup.
Travis Senek, you can see him getting a little upset with the defense by Kerry Pates. Gives him a little elbow, no call.
Reese Johnson felt like a call would have been at least appropriate there.
Ridley can't quite make that little scoop shot go. Vikings come back down with it. Down to 27 seconds to play first half.
Gotta believe North Park would like to hold the one. They'd be very, very pleased to go in down 5 or 6 and right in this ballgame at halftime.
Shot clock is turned off, and as Nate said, the Vikings with the best opportunity here to go back within 6. Kaiser on the drive, scoops it in, not quite good, and Collins will try to regain control of the rebound. It goes off of Wheaton College, and Vikings will get it with 4.6 seconds, and back in checking Rick Allsbach.
Well, Kaiser may have shot that one a little bit too soon. There was about 7-8 seconds on the clock when he put that one up. North Park did a good job of crashing the boards, causing the ball to go off the Crusaders, and now have a chance to set up an out-of-bounds play and get the final score, but Ridley picks it off.
and throws it the length of the court. Senek tries to put it in a little too much of a hurry. Haste makes waste. Travis Senek, a great effort to race the length of the court, but as time expired, he just missed the shot. An 8-point lead. Wheaton College holding on 41-33. We'll be back to take a look at our first half scoring summary. Right after this, a fantastic first half of college basketball on the Jones Intercable Game of the Week.
Samuel L. Jackson.
I'm not going to jail today.
Kevin Spacey.
You want something.
Pay-per-view. Chicago's best negotiator is holding the police hostage, and the only one he can trust is a stranger.
Make me believe why I should deal with you ever again.
Chief, they have a shot. We can end it right here.
The Negotiator. Thrilling suspense. Easy to order at home.
It's not happiness to see me, is it?
What do you think Stephen would do if he knew about David? Fooling around is the oldest reason in the world to kill somebody.
You got a box big enough to hold $500,000 for killing my wife.
Michael Douglas, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Viggo Mortensen plan the perfect murder on pay-per-view.
That's not happiness to see me, is it?
A perfect murder. Edge of your seat excitement delivered home.
The Jones Intercable Game of the Week is brought to you by Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria. Located at 455 West Roosevelt Road in Glen Ellen, enjoy their world-famous stuffed pizza. Pickup or delivery. Well, the Crusaders withstand a late surge by the North Park Vikings to hold on to a 41-33 halftime lead. That's where we're at right now. Let's take a look at our first half scoring summary, and a pretty telling one it is. Denny Kaiser leads the Vikings with 11. Rick Allsbach nailed a couple of three-pointers. He has 8. Luke Moo for Wheaton College had 16. What a solid performance he had in the first half. 6 of those coming from the free throw line, where he was 6 of 7 so far in the first half. Rob Hammond got in on the action as well. Didn't take a whole lot of shots, but whatever ones he did take, he seemed to nail. And he had 2 3-pointers as well as a couple of 2-point buckets. So a grand total of 10 points for Rob Hammond, and the Crusaders lead it 41-33. Well, a fantastic first half of action. The Crusaders a long way from in control and able to warm up the bus for this one. They're looking for their first conference victory in the College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin. We'll be back to see what happens in the exciting second half of action right after this on our Jones Intercable Game of the Week.
When you turn on Channel 29, you'll see more than just local programming. You'll see Jones Intercable's commitment to your community. It's a commitment to keep you informed and a commitment to bring you the very best in high school sports. It's what we do and how we do it that's uniquely Jones Intercable. So turn on WJIC Channel 29 and hear just why our local voice is the smart choice.
Oh yeah, looks the kill. After 10 years of smoking, I quit. Because what could happen isn't worth either your looks or your life.
Players are beginning to file back on the court as we get ready for second half action. 41-33 Wheaton College halftime lead. We've got Josh Hall on the sideline with the older brother of point guard Travis Senek, first-year assistant coach Jason Senek. We'll send it down to Josh.
I'm here with the assistant coach of Wheaton College, Jason Senek. And Jason, you guys got through the first half. Was it just a matter of weathering the storm with this crowd they have?
Yeah, Josh. North Park, this is a huge game, Wheaton, in conference. And the biggest thing is us hitting the boards because they're a physical team. They like to pound it inside and go to the glass. And I thought our big guys did a good job of that, and they need to continue that in the second half.
What do we see else in the second half except our big man inside?
I think we're going to try and pound the ball low to Robbie and to Luke and see what they can do.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jason.
All right, thanks, John.
As you can see, the Crusaders are going to try and go inside and look for North Park to get some more touches for their big man, Allsbach, their big guy, their scorer. Let's go back to you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Josh. Nate, what do you think of those words of strategy, halftime strategy by the Crusaders? They started off with Moo. He was hot. It seemed as though he was really opening things up inside. What else do you look for the Crusaders to do here in the second half?
Well, I don't think you got to change a thing. The post was extremely lucrative early and often in the first half. If they could continue to get it in there, North Park is going to have to respond in one of two ways. They can either begin to collapse, they can maybe try to go to a zone. All that's going to do is create disaster from the perimeter. Charles Ridley, Rob Hammond, they are way too good from downtown for North Park to really start concentrating on the post. It may be a pick-your-poison type of situation for North Park, and that is something that would make Coach Harris and his Crusaders very pleased.
Well, Reese Johnson, maybe not quite as pleased as Bill Harris at the outcome of the first half, but we've got another 20 minutes to play, so these teams complete their first game of the 1999 College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin season.
And Allsbach starts the second half on the bench with 3 fouls. It'll be interesting to see how long Johnson feels he can keep his great guard on the bench before this game slips away.
Ridley in the paint, spinning, shot up on the way, no good. Hammond gets the rebound to Michael Collins on the floor, now off the glass, and a great touch shown by the junior.
So soft off the glass.
You think they told Collins they want him a little more involved here in the second half, or happy with his role play?
I would say there's a good chance they said keep your eye on Mike. Certainly North Park is not concentrating on him. They've been obviously instructed by Coach Johnson to keep their eyes on Hammond, Ridley, Seneca, and certainly Moose. So Collins may open up, but I think if you're Wheaton College, you keep doing exactly what you've been doing.
Great dish from Seneca to Moo. Count to basket and the foul. Luke Moo, that's a punctuation. You said it was very lucrative down low for the Crusaders in the first half, and they look to go back to the well with Moo.
Well, we'll take another look at this one. Great work by Travis Seneca. Getting up in the air, but he knew exactly where he was going with the ball. And then Luke Moo, he wants to dunk it every time he gets it down low, especially when he's got a full head of steam going towards the hall. Goes up, draws the foul, and with tremendous strength, throws it down. Good start for the Crusaders, scoring with Moo's punch.
Moo is covering Zeitz, who's back into the action. Chaz Taft left side, a much different starting lineup here in the second half than we saw at the beginning of the ball game.
Well, no matter how much depth you have to sit a couple of your top players due to foul trouble. You're going to suffer. Reese Johnson's got to be hoping somebody will step it up to help North Park weather the storm in the absence of Allsbach.
That is just great concentration and focus from Charles Ridley. And I think that was a bit of a personal matter for Charles Ridley as he watched the soaring defender go by, stepped up and just buried the three-point shot. Well, they give him 2. His foot was on the line. It's a 13-point Crusader lead. 18-12 remaining in the ball game. This is Taft right side. Now to Zeitz. Zeitz cutting through. No one wants to get in his way. Tipped around the cylinder. Kaiser with it. Puts it back up, and now Collins comes up, and he will draw the foul from behind from J.R. Jackson. Want to remind you that our Jones Intercable Game of the Week once again is brought to you by Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria, located at 455 West Roosevelt Road in Glen Ellen. Call them up for the best pizza in the western suburbs, whether it's Mick, Theodore, Terry, or any one of the wonderful people at Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria. They will set you up with a smile.
They're going down to Luke Moo. It's a 5-down set. Moo gets it. He'll flush it again. They want to get the ball. That play was designed to go expressly to Moo. It's a set called 5 down. They run it off into him, and Moo does a great job of coming open on the screen and finishing with authority.
And Moo, you can see, is fired up, and he doing a little bit of taunting as well. I don't know if he's talking to the Crusader fans on this side or the imposter crazies behind us from North Park, but you can see Moo is taking a personal offense to that, and he stepped up, and he's got 20 tonight in this fantastic Division III basketball action. Let's take another look at the dunk.
We'll see it again here. Travis Senek comes off with a high Hammond screen. It's Collins going up to back screen for Moo. You can't see that right now. Great post position as the North Park defender, Kaiser, well out of position. Moo comes in and hammers it down. He is playing like a man possessed. He is showing you the kind of potential that only as a sophomore he already is beginning to tap into. He is the type of guy who could be a conference player of the year by the time he's a senior if he continues to progress and continues to mature both emotionally and physically as a player.
Well, he is just obviously physically dominating down there. Big, strong, but a great leaper as well. And you can see that he just goes up with authority. If he can continue to develop those low post maneuvers, the hooks, little turnarounds, the fades, he's going to be an incredible player in a few years.
Well, you talk about his strength. I work out with him in the summer quite a bit, and I usually spend about 2 or 3 days of traction following a session with him because he will bang you and push you around and all in all abuse you in order to get to the hole, in order to get rebounds.
Similar to a session with Kenny the Cheetah Masters, our award-winning producer-director. Foul away from the basketball there. It's going to be on, number 34. That is on Michael Collins. That's his first and the team's first here in the second half. Ben Zeitz has to get more active for North Park. He could be the equivalent of the Luke Moo. He could be their answer.
Well, he's definitely the type of guy who can light a fire under a team. He plays at a high emotional level. Occasionally that emotional boil over. He had an incident earlier in the year at Illinois Benedictine University where he had some fisticuffs with an opposing player. That's the type of thing that if you can keep under control, though, you love that kind of emotion. Zeitz showed it early in the first half. They need to get back to him here in the second half.
This is Collins left side, dribbling through traffic. Zeitz trying to steal it away. Collins tries to get it down low to Nick Otten. Stolen away by Jackson. Up ahead to Taft. Fought back by Michael Collins. That's the effort you love to see from a guy like Collins, racing back down the court to make up for his mistake.
Well, turnabout is fair play. It was Chaz Taft who got into Michael Collins' dribble on the other end. And coming back here, you see Chaz Taft, not a real big player, trying to put up an ill-advised shot over the great leaping, extremely quick Michael Collins, and that one is sent back postage due.
50-36, 16:44 remaining in the ball game. This is Allspach.
You knew Johnson couldn't keep Allspach on the bench forever, and with 3:30 gone here in the second, I think it's a very wise move to come back with the All-American candidate.
Zeitz too strong off the glass. Collins for the rebound. Up to Luke Moo. Another thing about Moo, we've been talking about him so much, he's not afraid to take the ball the length of the court. Will not get the continuation there, but foul is called.
Although he doesn't necessarily look fundamentally strong bringing it up the court, he really does not turn it over too often. He's the type of guy that if you're a coach as he's dribbling, you're going, no, 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 no. Then he does something great, and you're applauding his gutsiness and ability to bring it down the floor and score it.
This is Otten. Good control under the hoop for Nick Otten. We've seen a few of those shots from a variety of Crusaders.
That's the kind of strength that you've been teaching Nick Otten to work with for the past 3 years. He goes pretty darn big. He's 210 pounds against the 190 pound, and I think that's a little bit inflated. Jackson, he's able to pound him down low and finish going under the basket with the reverse.
Ball goes out of bounds off of the Vikings. Let's take another look at that last play from the other end as the Crusaders bring it down. This is Otten. Watch him control himself underneath the slick little up and under move, and it's a 16-point lead, the biggest for the Crusaders.
Nothing fancy about that. He knew he was all by himself, knew he had plenty of time, and wasn't going to have any guards doubling down to pick it. He just overpowered his defender, got inside for the easy basket.
Oh, great follow again from Otten, following up Travis Senek's shot. And Otten picking up the garbage baskets. That's exactly what they want him to do.
He's the type of guy who builds his confidence each time he does something well. If he can get 2 or 3 good plays strung together as he has now, he could become the kind of factor that can really change around the flow of a ball game. Not that this one needs any changing. Wheaton now up 18 and continuing to roll. Got to believe it won't be long before Kaiser comes back. And North Park has their 3 best players back on the court to try to get back in this one.
Got a foul here against. See, I missed the number on that one again.
That was on Ridley. Big fan of the NWO and WCW wrestling is Charles Ridley. I think he tried to suplex the offensive player on that play, and as a result, Kenny Faulkner blew him for the foul.
Watch out for Charles Ridley to pull a Bill Goldberg-esque spear later on in the ball game. 18-point lead for the Crusaders. A little over 15 minutes remaining in the ball game. This is Jackson, top of the key. That's Ridley's first foul, by the way. Shot off the back iron. Jackson throws it off a move, but Otten tips it back to Senek.
Look at the big men run the floor. All three of the forwards down in a hurry, giving Senek a lot of options. And he finds Collins underneath, and Michael is fouled. Not only did you have Collins running the floor that time, but on the far side of the court, Otten and Moo were out in front of the play. North Park didn't have enough defenders back, and as a result, picked up a foul and sent Michael Collins to the line for 2 shots.
4 fouls now on Brian Green. Nice to see for the Crusaders. Collins taking his time at the free throw line, measures the first, it's off the left side. And Nate, on a situation like that where Collins had the ball under the hoop, he had an opportunity for an explosive first step, but he used a strong bound, a dribble. Is that something that you would advise, or you think maybe he could have gotten a little quicker to the hoop if he had left the dribble and just drop step?
I think he needed to take a bounce there. His body was not in a real good position to put it up. He sort of had his back to the basket. He used the bounce to put himself in good position.
And Collins can't capitalize on either one of those. An 18-point lead for the Crusaders, 54-36, 15 minutes remaining in the ball game. Pates, turnaround jump shot out of control. Moo should have had it there.
Well, Pates has forced it 2 times down. He took about a 25-foot 3 on his last possession. That time a turnaround jump shot. He needs to do better work of breaking people down off the dribble. It's harder work, but he's got to stick with it if he wants to maintain his effectiveness for North Park on the offensive end.
That'll be the second foul for Luke Moo, and the team's third here in the second half. They find Allsbach left side. Tries to dish underneath. Collins almost has it. Stolen back by Tor Erickson. And a jump ball, and the possession arrow will favor the Crusaders.
The fact that Luke Moo only has 2 fouls so late in the game, 5.5 minutes into the second half, is really a big surprise. He's the type of guy who, if he has one weakness, is that he sometimes plays out of control and gets in foul trouble. But you can see, as he's halfway through his sophomore year, he's beginning to work out those kinks, beginning to play more under control, and the fouls are coming down. The points and the productivity are on their way up.
14:30 remaining in the ball game. Senek, a great move, but a little too strong on the righty layup.
He got a great screen from Collins. North Park had nobody stepping out to help. Senek did a great job of getting there. And every once in a while, Travis will get into a little bit of a layup funk. And there he has trouble finishing on the wide open, easy chance.
That is an awfully tough shot from Allsbach, who wanted a foul call. The officials say it was a clean block. The ball, they say, goes off of the Vikings. The Crusaders will get it back, and you can hear the Crusader crazies with the air ball call.
I think the Crusader crazies, although there aren't a lot of them on hand here tonight, have been spurred on a little bit, maybe put on a little bit of a guilt trip by the quality gathering North Park has put together here tonight.
Steal for Allsbach. He'll race down, lay it up softly with the left hand, and in the process also gives Travis Senek a soft left shoulder. Timeout called with 13:54 remaining in the ball game. Let's send it down to our man, Josh Hall, who is going to give us a quick update on the sideline.
Truly one of the inspirational stories for Wheaton College is senior co-captain Joel Eckert. He didn't start playing here at Wheaton until his sophomore year. Then his junior and senior year, he tore his ACL in his left knee, couldn't play both years. Now he's back for his senior year. He's a co-captain. He only averages about 5 or 6 minutes a game, 4 points and 2 rebounds. But one thing that he does give the Crusaders is that intangible leadership from the bench, from practice, in the locker room, that maybe Rob Hammond and Charles Ridley, he gives that little extra edge. So it's just truly remarkable for Joel and for the Wheaton team that he's back here playing. Back to you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Josh. I think that is a good point. And Eckert, a very interesting story, as you said, coming out of high school, an All-American, wasn't going to play college basketball, wanted to become a intramural league all-star, and had big plans to play with his brothers John and Jeff Eckert here in the intramural leagues at Wheaton College and dominate for 4 years. Then decided to come out after much hounding from Bill Harris. They finally got a hold of him, and as a sophomore had a tremendous season and contributed to a great team who went very deep in the playoffs.
It was a 25-2 team that won the conference for the first time in many, many years. Joel came into Wheaton at a time when basketball was starting to become king. He caught a little bit of that fever, came out, like you said, had a great year, and now it's good to see him back after 2 tough knee surgeries.
Interesting goings-on the floor as the Vikings get it back. Nick Ott backpedaling to get reestablished for defense. A 16-point lead, 54-38, Crusaders on top. And Allsbach. What have we got going on here, Nate?
I was looking around. It looked like he was looking up at the shot clock or up at the scoreboard. I don't think that was the problem. Could be that the clock didn't start. Not too sure what the deal is. We're seeing the coaches try to get their 2 cents in. That'll pretty much fall on deaf ears, as I think Kenny Faulkner, a great crew chief and a longtime CCIW official, has this one well under control. He's going to talk it over with a couple of his partners, and we'll see what happens as the coaches take this opportunity to gather their team and give them a few words for the final 13-24 of this one.
What are your thoughts here on the first 6.5 minutes of the second half? It's been a little out of control here, it seems like, kind of topsy-turvy.
It certainly has. Obviously, both of these teams, as we mentioned in the open and throughout the first half, really like to get it and go, but it's a fine line you walk when you do that. You've got to be very careful that you're constantly under control, because it's very easy to fall into a trap of pushing it at all costs. We've seen both teams do that. I think North Park has been a little more guilty than Wheaton, but I think both coaches would like to see them settle down and get quality chances. Wheaton has no problem taking some time off the clock here. The clock is their enemy with a 16-point lead. North Park, by the same token, does not have to really rush. 13:35 is plenty of time to cut a lead. They've got to make sure they get good shots. A few times down the court, we've seen bad attempts by a couple of their players. Allsbach put up a couple of bad ones. Pates put up a couple of bad ones. They need to settle in and do what created chances for them in the first half.
There were a few instances in the first half where they showed great offense. Here's Allsbach, a rainmaker, and that will cut the lead to 13. A big shot there. I was going to say, the Crusaders, since the break, have outscored the Vikings 13-5, but make that 13-8 now.
They get no prettier than that, Jeff. He stopped on a dime, turned around, a little bit of a fade, perfect follow-through on the shot, and it just drifted right through the bottom of the net.
Nick Otten goes up strong and will draw the foul. Foul will be called on number 44, Tim Nemeth.
They weren't sure how much they were going to be able to play Otten. He spent most of the time in Seattle nursing a very bad case of the flu. In fact, didn't play at all out there. Saw a couple minutes of practice yesterday, and Coach Harris, talking to him today, said Otten's minutes would be limited to 4 or 5 minute shifts. He's been very effective in this particular brief shift.
Otten buries both of those, and the lead is back to 15 with 13 minutes remaining in the ball game. Pates right side, guarded by Senek. Bounce pass for Nemeth. I said it was Nemeth on that foul. Excuse me, it was actually Denny Kaiser picking up his second.
Well, Kaiser had good position in the block. I don't think he realized just then that Rob Hammond had gotten picked off by a good Nemeth screen. Kaiser waited too long, could have had the easy 2 from the block.
Time running out on the shot clock. Pates goes in, draws the foul with 2 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Luke Moo will come down to check in.
And that's a no-win situation for the Wheaton defense there. Nick Otten didn't do a good enough job of hedging on the on-ball screen. Travis Senek got caught, and as a result, Otten had to switch off onto the much quicker Pates, and Pates easily able to get to the hole and draw the foul.
Pates measures. That one is way too strong. Pates had 6 in the first half. He's been pretty quiet overall. Luke Moo checks back in, much to the chagrin of the North Park fans behind us.
If there is a weakness in Pate's game, and I believe there is, it's that he is not a great foul shooter, only shooting 47% from the line. That's a tough situation when your point guard, the guy who's going to be handling it a lot down the stretch and in crucial situations, cannot shoot foul shots. That's something he's going to have to improve on over the season in order to be in at crunch time as the Vikings continue to get better and better and to play in more and more big games.
Hammond left side, kind of a bad pass, but Charles Ridley's wide open. He follows his shot, but he thought he missed that one, but not the case. Charles Ridley, you don't give him an open look. He's going to hit that 9 times out of 10. We may have talked about his three-point percentage. He's shooting something like 44% from three-point range. Just outstanding. There's another 3 on the other side of things from Tim Nemeth.
Well, Nemeth has come in and done some good things there. He hits a 3. He's been doing a good job setting picks and keeping the motion offense moving. Wheaton looks to counter.
And now Moo tries to dish back to Hammond. The big men running the 3-on-2 break. Collins, the no-look pass to Moo, and he tried to cross-court it for Hammond, a little too much on it.
Every once in a while, the young sophomore Moo will try to get a little too fancy on his passes, whether it's just a one-handed effort or something behind his back, something a little more fundamental can be more appropriate at times.
Pates, the three-pointer, no rotation on that shot whatsoever. Rebound for Collins. Senek, jump step, jump stop, goes up for the shot, and is fouled.
North Park faithful felt that Pates got that one cleanly. Officials felt otherwise as Pates got a piece of Senek's back, and Senek will go to the line. Getting back to the Ridley three a couple of possessions ago, he had so much time, that's almost not what his taste at shooting is. He prefers to be a little more closely guarded. He's the type of guy that feels if he's got a guy in his face, he's at his best. That three a couple of possessions ago, though, didn't look that good leaving his hand, but found the bottom of the basket and really continues to be a guy who could score in every which way.
Both Crusader, it's an interesting dichotomy as we look at the Crusader coaches, two of which are just absolutely pacing the sidelines. Bill Harris and Mike Schauer, and Jason Senek, I don't think has left his seat all night. Ever calm, cool, collected, no tie. The California surfer boy.
I wish I had known last year when I was coaching about the no tie availability. I felt like I had to strap one on each and every game. But apparently the rules have changed.
Maybe they change the rules depending on personality, and obviously Jason Senek.
It's the SoCal, Southern California exemption, I think.
Rob Hammond goes up strong and draws the foul there from Jermaine Robinson. Hammond's not afraid to do that. He's not a real big guy physically. He's been pretty much the same size throughout his college career. He's listed at about 6'7", 215. We got a timeout called now with 11:21 remaining in the ball game. Timeout called by Reese Johnson and the Vikings. 61-45 lead for the Crusaders, but Hammond, he's not afraid to get in there and mix it up as well.
No, he's not, and to Hammond's credit, I think this was the year he worked hardest on the weights in the offseason. Prior to last season, he had been gone all summer playing baseball. This season, he had some time to really get in the gym, really work on it, and he's probably put on 10 to 15 pounds in muscle, which is going to help him not only in his basketball career, but he's also a pitcher who throws in the high 80s and has some potential future pro prospects. So a good job of getting in the weight room, and something that's going to pay dividends in both of his sporting loves.
He is a multi-sport athlete. Coming in, they were very excited to have Hammond from Leiden High School. Hails from Franklin Park. It's going to be sad to see him go, but he has been a real pleasure for Bill Harris, Vinny Rachel, and all the...
Oh, yeah, he's one of those guys, too, that if you're from another school, you see these guys every once in a while. You go, is Hammond still here? He's been so good since the get-go in both baseball and basketball. You feel like he's in his 17th year, when in reality, he's just gotten the most you could possibly get out of a 4-year basketball and baseball career.
Such a cool customer also. When he came in as a freshman, he played serious minutes in big-time action, was not afraid to get in there and mix it up, and that certainly has only improved during his 4-year varsity career. He drains the first free throw, makes it a 17-point lead.
And when you watch the game of basketball as a former player, you look at guys and you say, that's the type of guy I would want to have on my team. If I was picking first in the draft to get a guy on my team, out of all the players out here, in fact, out of all the players in the CCIW, Rob Hammond's the first guy I'd choose. He's such a gritty, determined player. To go along with his talent makes him unstoppable.
Hammond tips that one. Now the Crusaders regain control. Senek throws ahead to Charles Ridley. A little too much on the full court pass there, and Ridley loses it out of bounds.
And Ridley was thinking he might have his chance for a dunk. I was telling him earlier I wanted to see one.
Is that a physical possibility?
No one really knows if he could do that or not. He's flirted with it many times in the heat of battle. You never know if he might have enough. Unfortunately, that pass sailed out of his reach, and we'll have to wonder at least another possession or two if Charles Ridley can't get up high enough to throw down.
Tim Nemeth, a nice jump shot in the face of Michael Collins. I remember similar questions at the end of the career of Nate Frank, whether he could shoot the three-pointer, and we found out without a doubt the answer was affirmatively no.
That was a resounding no, as resounding an answer to any question as you'll find anywhere. I casted it up and casted it up. I really had no conscience that night. I figured something had to fall, but to be very honest with you, nothing even left my hands feeling like it had a remote chance of going in the hole.
I don't think you or anybody else was fooled by the destination of those three-point shots. Shot off the way there from Rick Allspach.
Good defense there by Ridley. He was right up on Allspach. Allspach had to lean back a little bit more than he would have liked to get that shot off, and as a result, it came up short.
63-47 Crusader lead. You see Bill Harris calling over Charles Ridley.
Right now, the Wheaton staff, Harris, Schauer, and Senek, have got to be very pleased with this effort. Coach Harris is talking about a game that could be a real nail-biter, could be something within 3 or 4 points either way. Right now, his Crusaders are playing like a team that's ready for the CCIW season. A lot of times you go away, they've spent a week in Seattle. That trip can be a good chance for a team to come together, and early indications would say that the Crusaders have done just that. They're playing really like a team, getting contributions from everyone, getting scoring, rebounding, and defense from the entire team package.
Oh, there has been no question about their concentration or focus here tonight. And the exciting and fun thing for us is the fact that although it's an 18-point lead, the intensity is as high if it were a tie ball game right now.
Oh, this is a tremendous rivalry. North Park loves to win this game. There were years when Wheaton wasn't winning that many games where a win over North Park could make your season. Now North Park is the team that's been below Wheaton the last few years. Would love to get a win here after losing 9 straight. I feel like they've gotten the better of Wheaton after a few years of tough times.
Well, they certainly have the support. We're going to hear from our supporting staff, Josh Hall, during the next break if we have an opportunity.
He's got an ex-North Park superstar, Jack Ecker, a guy who played from 92 to 95 there. Put up some pretty impressive numbers. We're going to look at the other side of this rivalry from a guy who spent his time on the north side of Chicago playing for the Vikings.
Crusaders holding on to their 18-point lead, 9:42 to go, looking to seal their first conference win. This is Nemeth, bounce pass down low for Green. He goes up strong, tipped around, and Peterson comes back up with it. Now, long three-point shot on the way, in and out, no good. Hammond hit hard from behind as Peterson and Green both fouled him. If they give the foul to Green, no, it's going to be on Peterson. Otherwise, if it were on Green, he would be out of the ball game.
Tim Nemeth checks out now. Zeitz checks back in. It looked like he was checking out. Maybe he's just going over to have a word with Coach Johnson. Nemeth is a guy who's only a sophomore. Doesn't have a lot of stats, but he's been the beneficiary of a system that Coach Johnson has employed, a system that gets a lot of guys in and gotten some chances. And Nemeth has responded here tonight. He sparked them with something from downtown, something inside. Some good defensive work, and he may see more minutes down the road.
Hammond, first free throw good. Crusaders looking to extend to a 20-point lead. What do you think of that strategy? Obviously, they've got a very talented bench. My guess, they've used every single player on the roster at this point, or at least on the bench right now for Reese Johnson.
Well, we certainly haven't been keeping count, but he's gone well down there. And that's something that they've been expected to do. Talking to Mike Schauer, he says you never know who North Park's going to start, let alone who's going to play major minutes. They kind of look for the hot hand, and then they'll go for it. They want guys who can complement that big three of Kaiser, Allspach, and Pates. Tonight it's been Zeitz at some point. It's been Nemeth a little bit, and they'll continue to look until they find that right combination.
But it did seem like in the first half there, when Zeitz was giving him a lift, he picked up a couple fouls, and they pulled him out, which seemed to kind of draw away a little of their momentum. He's got an opportunity for some free throws here.
Well, to me, coaching players in foul trouble is one of the real arts of the profession of coaching. It's so tough to know the risk-reward ratio of playing a guy with a lot of fouls, no matter how well he's contributing. When do you take him out? When do you put him back in? How much are you hurting the team? Having him on the bench. A coach who can do that well has a real advantage over other teams.
Zeitz drops 1 of 2. Crusaders a 19-point lead, 9 minutes to play. Hammond right side, looking for Collins. Nice backdoor look for Moo. Not enough on it, though, as Zeitz gets in the way and steals it away.
That's a battle of two oxes down there. Zeitz doesn't look like he gives much away to Moo strength-wise, and that's saying a mouthful. He held his position very well there and didn't allow Moo the easy look from the post.
Allspach will reset the offense with 15 seconds on the shot clock. Brings around the right side. Calling out things to Nemeth. Not much there. His team is not really moving much away from the basketball. Peterson goes around a screen. Hammond with the beautiful block shot there. Ball at half court. Allspach comes back up with it. He'll bring down. Kicks off for Peterson. Jump shot. No good. Brian Walker comes up with it.
Walker, not a big guy, only 5'9", but kept after that one and pulls it out of there. Right now, North Park is struggling getting anything open whatsoever. In games past, when that's happened, they've tried to run the pick and roll to Pates. He's not in right now, and when he has been, Wheaton's done a pretty good job of handling it. As a result, the Vikings are struggling to get good offensive looks.
Not a real good shot there from Luke Moo. Shooting from outside 10 feet really is...
Well, you take the good with the bad with Luke Moo sometimes, and on a night when there's been so much good, the occasional bad shot, the occasional misplay is something Coach Harris is more likely to let pass, although now Nick Otten gets up and maybe Coach Harris wants to reaffirm the fact that that may not have been the most appropriate shot selection.
So Moo will take a seat. That I was going to say, in years past, if you made a mistake, Bill Harris would pull his players out. It seemed immediately talk to them and then maybe send them back in, but he wanted to make sure that they got the piece of advice that he wanted for them.
Especially with a young player like Luke Moo. He's only a sophomore, looks a lot bigger and plays a lot better than that. But it is a point you need to make continuously if you want to help him improve to the level he can get to.
Michael Collins drops the first free throw. Able to block out the birthday greetings sent from the North Park fans behind us.
And it looks like it won't be Moo coming out after all. They're just going to give Collins a rest. Nick Otten still at the scorer's table. He'll check in if Collins can bury this one.
Second one on the way. Nice stroke there, and it's a 19-point lead reestablished. Collins will take a seat. Otten back in.
Well, you know, Collins must have been ready for a miss, or ready for a rest. He didn't miss that foul shot like I had a tendency to do so often when there was somebody waiting to check in for me at the scorer's table, and I felt like I wanted another minute or two of playing time.
That was all intentional, wasn't it?
I'd like to think so.
Nemeth on the drive. He's fouled. And we'll go to the line. What do you think? I want an insider's perspective. Having been the first player recruited by Bill Harris and having actually coached underneath him and watching him change over the years, has he softened up on his players?
Well, he's softened up a little bit. He still demands a lot out of them. But he's gotten to the point now where he has better talent, so he doesn't have to dig as deep to get at it. It's like mining for gold in some ways. If you've got a big reserve right on the surface, you'll tap it. And he's got so much talent here on the surface, you don't have to beat the schmutz out of the players. Back when guys like I were playing, you were digging in pretty dry territory, and you had to get way down, which meant sometimes putting us through a lot of misery, but it definitely paid dividends.
You've got to think of the original guys like Mike Schauer, like yourself, who paid the dues. Ron Smith, another guy who, talking about maximizing your basketball ability, he turned from a high school reserve, really, from what I understand, into just an outstanding three-point shooter and a great leader on the court as well.
Well, you're so right. Those were years where we worked very hard, and didn't a day go by it sometimes where we felt like it wasn't worth it. But Harris had a master plan. He stuck to it, despite the fact that it wasn't always easy for him as well. And as a result, that team continued to get better, going 9 wins, 14 wins, 17 wins, 21 wins, all the way up to 25 wins in the 95-96 season, and really establishing Wheaton College as a basketball powerhouse at the Division III level.
What do you think Coach Harris's take is now? Because it was building, and it seemed as though everybody expected 4 more wins each year and another round of the playoffs, and then there were some down years. Last year they finished 13-12. What do you think his take is on the teams that he has now? Obviously,
I think he felt he's smart enough to know that a team like the one he had in 95-96 with the likes of a Matt Nadelhofer, Wes Pitts, Jason Senek, who we see here tonight, Timmy Seneff, those teams don't come along all that often. But he does know that he's capable of winning at this level now. He knows he's capable of getting the quality players in, and I think he's on the track with this group here of getting them back to a level where they're competing for tournament berths and eventually national titles.
It is always so interesting to watch the players come and go, and you know, you get a couple great recruits from one class, then you kind of have a dry spell, then you get another couple great recruits, and it's just a matter of fitting all the pieces of the puzzle together. You know, you think if they'd had Joel Eckert the last couple of years, it would have been a whole different story. If he would be the senior with 4 years varsity experience that he could have been had it not been for the injuries, they'd be a much different team. And They'd be contending for a national title right now.
Well, so right. Not only would he be much better now and much more confident, but I think back to 2 years ago when Matt Nadelhofer and Wes Pitts were seniors. That was an 18-7 franchise, a team that was just one player away from being a 20-win ball club and getting back to that national tournament. Joel Eckert would have definitely strengthened the front line that needed a little bit of help at that time.
This is Nemeth, top of the key, guarded by Eckert. It's a 70-53 Crusader lead, 6 minutes remaining. Moo fighting for it with Zeitz. Zeitz lays it up, out of control. Ball on the floor and out of bounds off the Vikings.
That would be great if we get a timeout here. Maybe we send a messenger over to Coach Harris, tell him to spend one of his, because I'd certainly like to hear what Josh Hall has to say with former North Park star Jack Ecker. But it looks like this one maybe played all the way through to the finish, as Wheaton is well in control here with 5:52 left to play.
Moo called for the offensive foul.
I got to believe that was a call that was more anticipated as to what would happen than called on the basis of fact. Moo had a full head of steam up and looked like he was going to clock the North Park player straight on. I think he did a pretty good job of slipping the charge at the end, but the whistle had already blown and the foul had been called. Only Moo's third, so no harm done.
What can he do as he brings that ball down the floor to avoid the offensive foul? Does he jump stop and go up with it, or?
I think when you're a player that size, you want to do one of two things. You got to decide if you can get all the way to the hole, and if you can't, you want to jump stop and probably not shoot it. That's a tough shot for a big guy to pull and shoot with any sort of touch. Your best bet there, if you think you're going to pick up the charge, jump stop, kick it back out, set up the offense, and you still may have an odd man opportunity with the trailer coming down the court.
J.R. Jackson drops in the bucket from right under the hoop. He has a chance for three. Michael Collins will take a seat. Bill Harris is not pleased with his team's effort right now, as their lead has been cut to 15. Coach Harris having words with Michael Collins. In for him now is Nick Otten.
Let's not forget, 15 points is not insurmountable. This North Park team has been pretty latent offensively over the last 10 minutes, really most of the second half. But that doesn't mean they don't have guys who are capable of getting hot, banging some threes, and getting right back in this game with over 5 minutes left to play.
5:20 remaining in the ball game, a 14-point lead for the Crusaders. Cut from as many as 20. Ridley on the drive. He knew his team needed some offense, and he goes in and draws the foul. This one, I believe, will be on Nemeth.
It's another thing Ridley's gotten a lot better at. Not just scoring for the sake of scoring, but knowing when his team needs him to try to generate a scoring opportunity. They needed him there with the lead being cut to 15. Slices in and is able to generate a foul.
Excuse me, the foul's on Pates. That was my mistake. Ridley drops the first free throw. Ridley measures the second one. That one rims around and drops. It is a 16-point lead now as Allsbach returns from action. Hopefully we'll have a chance to hear from Bill Harris. Some words from earlier this week, as well as Josh Hall on the sideline if we have a break in the action.
Allsbach checks back in. Look for him to have the major serious green light, as they need to start generating some shots from outside. Three-pointers are what he's best at shooting, and he's going to shoot anytime he gets it from now on.
Traveling called. The Crusaders will get it back.
Chance to extend to 18, 19 points and really make North Park doubt their ability to come back in this one. North Park adversity needs to make defensive stands, put a few together if they hope to slice this lead, get it back to single figures, something manageable for a comeback.
Feels as though the Vikings have picked up the intensity a little bit on defense. Obviously, they need to. Less than 5 minutes remaining in the game.
There's the five-down set to Otten. He gets in there and does a good job. That's the same play they ran to Moo earlier on in the game, where he finished with authority. Nick Otten coming off the flu, maybe not having his best legs underneath him. Finishes with a layup, but same result on the scoreboard.
Tim Nemeth steps up and drains a three-pointer. That'll make it a 15-point lead once again. 4:20 remaining. So the Crusaders certainly haven't nailed things shut by any stretch here. Ridley on the drive, loses, now regains, puts it up with a soft right hand, and for a guy 6'1", great post moves for Charles Ridley.
Another knack Ridley has is doing something ugly and coming up with a pretty result. He always stays with the ball, even when he's on the verge of turning it over. And because he knows where he is at all times, is able to usually finish the balls he can recover.
We're going to hear from Bill Harris. We had a chance to talk to him earlier this week about the importance of the CCIW season. This first game, this is what he had to say.
These 14 games will measure the season, measure who represents us in the NCAA, whether it's just the champion or whether it's the champion plus another one of the teams. Obviously, the team that comes second would be that first team. The CCIW is one of the toughest leagues, as people know, in the NCAA Division III. And what occurs over these next 7 weeks is going to determine the season. Non-conference is kind of like, a preseason to what takes place in college basketball around here. So everything is in front of us.
What do you think he's going to take away from tonight's game? They've just extended the lead to 18 now with less than 4 minutes to go. Although they've dominated throughout, there have been some lapses in concentration, especially here in the second half.
There have been some lapses, but nothing too earth-shattering or monumental. A team is going to ease up a little bit when they get up by 15 to 20 points. We've seen that here. I think he's got to be very pleased with the way, once that lead was cut down to 14, they responded and stretched it back to 18. He's got to feel like this team is really coming around and beginning to play the way that people expected them to at the beginning of the season.
Travis Senek goes up, gets fouled. He'll go to the line. Foul committed there by Jabari Lanier.
He also mentioned something interesting, saying that the non-conference season, the first 11 games, are really just a warm-up, really just a precursor to the conference season. All you want to do out of those games, make sure you're tested enough to be ready for the beginning of conference, but by the same token, you need to come out of there with no more than 3 losses in order to be eligible or really have a fighting chance of making the playoffs. Wheaton did that by going 8-3 this season, so they're poised in a position they want to be in going into the conference.
It was interesting to hear Coach Harris say he was disappointed with the first 11 games, but also to say that if they had had a healthy Rob Hammond throughout, he had no doubt in his mind that they would be 11-0. Ridley called for the foul there, kind of a tough one.
Ridley doing his best Rick Smits impersonation, going up and trying to alter shots. I think he felt like he got a good portion of clean ball. It looked like he did. Officials felt differently, and Alsbach will go to the line to shoot too.
What a sweet jump shot, or a foul shot from Rick Alsbach.
You won't see him much more pure than that. This guy, he's another Indiana boy. They could shoot it down there. So smooth. You could tell he just spent hours and hours as a young player working on his J. And the result is something very pretty to look at.
Couple of points as well. 79-61. 3 minutes remaining in the ballgame. Crusaders looking to extend their record to 9-3 and their conference record to 1-0, and Hammond on the drive will draw the block. Going to want to stick around after the game as we will try to get a hold of a couple of Crusaders as well as Bill Harris for some post-game interviews to wrap this one up, get their thoughts.
North Park with 61 points with 3 minutes left to go. Coach Harris, Coach Schauer, Coach Jason Senek would love to see them be able to hold this North Park team, a pretty good offensive team, scoring about 76 a game, under 70. If they can do that, they'll feel not only have they had a good offensive outing, but they've had a complete game, doing a good job on the defensive end as well.
Crusaders back to a 20-point lead. Nice hanging jump shot there, rims around and drops for Jabari Lanier. Well, the Crusaders' schedule doesn't get any easier after this, of course. They are just beginning the CCIW season, and always one of the best basketball conferences in the nation, and probably better than it ever has been as far as from top to bottom, as Nate was mentioning. And Bill Harris mentioning also the fact that he really believes on any night, any one of the 8 teams can beat any other. And that happened, that was proven earlier on this week. Travis Senek on the drive, and he'll have an opportunity for 3. That was proven earlier this week as North Central, which was picked to be number 8, beat Elmhurst, which was a top half contender. Let's take a look at the Crusaders' upcoming schedule. And they are at Elmhurst. Of course, they've got this Saturday night, the 16th, they've got Illinois Wesleyan here. That will, of course, have already happened by the time that this airs. But then they are at Elmhurst, home versus Milliken, and they make the long trip to take on Augustana on January 26th. So the Crusaders beginning the first sweep through the CCIW.
Well, as you said, Jeff, it is a very tight conference this year. There may not be that 1 or 2 team national contender as of yet. I think there's a couple teams capable of stepping into that role. But right now it's a very, very well-paired conference, and a conference where I think you're going to see a lot of games go down to the wire, even games that in a normal year you wouldn't expect to see. North Central Elmhurst, great example earlier this week.
Three-pointer altered by Nemeth, blocked by Collins. Massive substitution for the Crusaders, who will bring in 3 new players. And yeah, you know, it's interesting. North Central last year was just seemed to be a powerhouse. They had that incredible class come in, led by Dave Oberwise and all those guys, and now they've graduated. They seem to be decimated, but they come back with a big conference win. Luke Moo will check out to a round of applause along with Charles Ridley and Rob Hammond, and Senek also takes a seat. Mike Collins, the only remaining starter in there right now. Allspot knifes through the lane, and he will draw the foul.
Well, you're so right. North Central did lose a lot of great players, and a lot of people thought they'd be a team you could go in and just roll over on your way to an easy conference victory. Bob Bray and his staff out there will not allow that to happen. They're continuing to work, and they're really starting to build some confidence in basketball at North Central. They've come off of 2 great years where they've had teams that could beat anybody in the league, really anybody in the nation, and they want to continue to build on that, and that's what they've done.
Let's throw it to Josh Hall, who is down on the sideline. He's prepared with an interview, and in just a moment we'll get that as Allspach drains the free throw. Just 1:29 remaining. This ball game out of hand. If Josh is ready, let's send it down to him with Jack Ecker.
I'm joined here by Jack Ecker, a North Park alum, one of the most prolific scorers in North Park history. 54 points in 1 game, but you never saw a crowd like this in your day, did you?
That would have been a little bit more fun playing with a crowd like this behind me, yeah.
This is a little bit, North Park team doing pretty good this year.
Yeah, it's good to see the crowd behind them like this, and, you know, they're trying to turn things around, and I think, you know, once guys get used to playing with each other, they're going to be able to turn it around.
All right, we got this one little thing. Nate Frank said that you might have scored a lot of points, but you sure never played any defense. You go right down here on this picture, and there's Nate scoring right there.
Well, I think he missed that shot. I didn't need to do anything about that one, so.
All right, well, we'll throw it back to them. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jack.
No problem, thanks.
That is picture-perfect form from Nate Frank, who is grace in motion during his 4 years here at Wheaton College.
Exactly.
Gazelle-like, the analogy made many times throughout his career.
Jack and I had a lot of fun playing against each other. He was impossible to guard. The stinking guy loved to shoot 3-point shots. Impossible to block any of them. And he's built like a house, too. He could always go down low, post you up. We've had a lot of fun playing together in overseas teams and even in men's leagues around here since then. It's been a lot of fun getting to know a guy who you used to have to hate because he played for the hated North Park Vikings.
Always a class gentleman and a class competitor, and we thank him for stopping by for the interview, and a great job to Josh Hall as well. That may be the last time we hear from Josh. Up and under the hoop is Lanier, Jabari Lanier. He will draw the foul. Down to 36 seconds remaining in the game. It's an 86-70 Crusader lead. Looks like they're going to wrap this one up.
Not that it's of a lot of consequence, but they probably should have counted the basket as well, as that ball's on its way up. Either Joel Eckert or Nick Otten. I didn't get a good look at which one of them went up and grabbed the rim. That should have been a goaltending call. In a close game, you would have seen Reese Johnson up and in the face of the officials. But down 16, now down 15. I think he'll let that one pass without incident.
Lanier will measure the second. Well, for North Park, they can take some things away. They got solid bench play from a number of players. They had some very positive things in the first half from Ben Zeitz. Of course, Allspach, another career shooting performance. Bill Harris catches that batted pass from Joel Eckert. And there's a couple of idiots who don't belong in the building. I think that's pretty clear.
That is all too clear.
They let all sorts of people in here at Wheaton College just to fill out the stands.
That'd be interesting if you could go back and rewrite the script to see what might happen if North Park didn't have Zeitz and Allspach in early foul trouble. I believe Wheaton is the better team and would have won, but it certainly may have been a game that would have gone down to the wire if those two major contributors could have stayed in for the Vikings throughout the entirety of the game.
Brian Adams commits the foul, a sophomore from Wilton, Connecticut, who was cutting like a knife in there to make that play, but wasn't able to do so.
I'm glad you didn't say when he was lying here in your arms, you're finding it hard to believe you're in heaven. I like the cutting like a knife analogy a little bit better from the great Canadian rock star Brian Adams.
You know I had to take advantage of that.
This North Park crowd is loud enough to be waking up the neighbors, if you will.
Oh my goodness. Down to 10 seconds remaining. The Crusaders will hold on for the victory. And I am searching the recesses of my mind for more Brian Adams knowledge.
Don't bother. I've got 3 or 4 coming right back at you.
I don't even want to begin the machine gun-like response from Nate Frank. 2 seconds remaining. Joel Eckert will hold on. He tosses it to Michael Collins. The Crusaders pick up their first conference victory, the first conference game of the season, and a big victory to have under their belt. 86-72, a nice win for Wheaton College. We'll be back with some post-game interviews, hopefully with Bill Harris and a couple Crusaders. Right after this, your final score, 86-72, Wheaton College on the Jones Intercable Game of the Week.
Jones Intercable has been a member of your community for over a decade. We've come to think of you not just as customers, but as friends. A friend is willing to bend over backwards and go out of their way for another friend.
A few months ago, I got the opportunity to come in and see Lisa on the job at Jones Intercable. I had a fun time. She showed me all the things that go on in the studio. And I learned that it's great to stay in school. I hope that I can come in and see her again sometime.
Our local voice is the smart choice.
The Wheaton College Crusaders opened their 1999 CCIW conference season with an 86-72 victory over the North Park Vikings. We're back here at Centennial Gymnasium. I'm standing alongside Charles Ridley, a big factor in tonight's victory and a big factor in the Crusaders' success the last few years. And Charles, a big test for you guys tonight as you were taking on North Park. They've been down the last few years. They had some success, and they brought a big crowd, but you guys were able to withstand all those things for a nice win.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank God. I think he was definitely instrumental in this victory. He helped us through this game. But, yeah, North Park, I mean, they're definitely much improved. They got some more players, some transfers that really helped them out. And, of course, as you saw, they brought a huge crowd in. It was a good test for us. I mean, we just got back from the West Coast Sunday, and to come in Tuesday to play this game was kind of tough for us. I mean, you know, that's a big time change, but we came in, we were focused, we were mentally ready to go, and North Park proposed a good challenge, but we were just accepted it and played hard and got the victory.
You were given the somewhat unsavory duty of covering Rick Allsbach. He was very highly touted coming into the ball game, but you did a nice job on him. Was that tough for you?
Yes, well, Rick is he's a great player. I mean, he was all conference last year, so it was going to be a tough matchup for me, but I knew I had to play hard and stay on him. But he's a great shooter. I mean, you can't give him any looks, and he definitely posed a great challenge, but I accepted it and tried to do my best.
You know, Charles, Coach Harris has made the point to us that in the last few years, or particularly this year, you've really become a fantastic all-around basketball player, a great leader as well. What do you think this team has to do in order to really make a serious run in the conference and also maybe in the NCAA playoffs as well?
I think we got to do what we did tonight, and you got to get better at it each night. I mean, we got to play defense, defend. We're hard to guard offensively. If we spread the floor, get a lot of people involved, we're hard to guard. If we stay focused, play defense, and come out ready to play every game, I mean, I honestly think that we can win the conference and go far in the playoffs. I mean, there's no one stopping us but ourselves.
All right, thanks a lot, Charles. Great job. Congratulations. We're going to bring in Rob Hammond now. We can bring in Rob and get another captain's opinion on tonight's game. Rob, congratulations. Nice win. Your thoughts on the game?
Thank you. I was just pleased with our effort. We came out real hard. That was one of our goals. We wanted to get up and down the court, get the loose balls, and we all did that as a team. And that's what I love to do.
It seemed like a real physical game, but you weren't afraid to mix it up. You think that's one of the keys for you guys, that you're not afraid to get in there and get physical?
I think so. We need to be strong with the ball. I think we learned a lot on the West Coast. There were a bunch of small guys, but they played real physical because they were so little. And I think the slapping at the ball and all that really got us used to this. And that was something we focused on. We wanted to come out and be strong with it and make our layups when we had to lay it.
Rob, you think this can be a great team, a conference champion, and maybe make a run in the playoffs?
I really do. I think we got some good veterans. We got a good mix of veterans and newcomers. We're starting to gel as a team. I think we're gonna play hard. Nobody's gonna out-hustle us. That's one thing. And we really got some good leadership, so I think we're gonna be all right.
All right, Rob, thank you very much. Congratulations, a great win, and good luck on the rest of the conference season, playoffs as well. And we're going to bring in Bill Harris now, head coach of the Wheaton College Crusaders. And, Coach, tell us your thoughts on the game. They made a run at you at the beginning. There was a lot of enthusiasm in the gym, but your guys held up.
I'm very pleased with our effort. I'm very pleased with our execution. We had 5 guys in double figures. We did an outstanding job defensively. I thought we did an outstanding job on the boards. We play like that, we're fine. Actually, the 14-point differential doesn't really reflect the game. I think I emptied the bench. We're up 21 with a few minutes left, and couldn't be more pleased with our kids.
Well, congratulations, and certainly bright things on the future as well. What a performance from Luke Moo.
Lucas was great. He really was. Can he go to the 10? He really did a great job, and helped us on the glass. Obviously was a power inside, and just real pleased with his effort. And I thought when we did go to the bench with the forwards, I thought Otten did a good job tonight. I thought we got good minutes out of him. I thought Joel gave us good minutes when he was in the game. And I thought our kids came out, were focused, had a purpose, and accomplished what they set out to do.
All right, Coach, congratulations. Great win. Hopefully we'll catch you again in the playoffs down the road.
Yep, I hope so.
All right. We'll bring in my partner, Nate Frank, as well to wrap this one up. We're just about running out of time. We want to remind you that we're going to have a little bit of time off, and we'll come back next Friday night for a fantastic Suburban Catholic Conference matchup between the Driscoll Highlanders and the St. Francis Spartans. And the Spartans, under Mike Harper, having a heck of a season right now. They're looking to win the SCC Conference and also defend their home floor at the Slant Dome Friday night against the Driscoll Highlanders. That'll be a lot of fun as we head out there on Friday the 22nd, and that ball game will air the following week. So we're very excited to be back with high school action in a couple weeks. Nate, a fantastic ball game. We want to thank everybody who helped out. Our additional partner as well who was here, Josh Hall, who did a great job on the sideline. Hopefully we'll be able to recruit him again in a couple of weeks down the road. Want to thank all our wonderful Game of the Week crew, as always. What fantastic sights and sounds they brought you this evening. Greg Harshbarger and Dan Knight, fantastic camera work on the sidelines, bringing you those up-close and personal shots right in the players' and coaches' faces. Also up top, we had John Lagerholm and Steve Douglas from right here at Wheaton College, who has really matured and done a fantastic job. We appreciate his efforts week in and week out so very much. Also in the truck, we couldn't do it without our production catalyst, Bob Picorni, who we would not be able to put anything together here at Jones Intercable. And also our award-winning producer-director, Kenny the Cheetah Masters, and Jen Doggett, a crossover artist, as you might say, from Naperville's Channel 4, WJIC in Naperville. We thank Jen for her fantastic efforts. Nate, final thoughts on the ballgame?
It was a great one. The Crusaders wanted to get off to a quick start in conference. They've done it. Big one against Wesleyan this Saturday. I think they'll be ready.
Crusaders looking to win the CCIW. We would love to see them again in the NCAA playoffs if that should happen. For everybody at Jones Intercable, including my partner Nate Frank and our sideline reporter Josh Hall, I'm Jeff Pringle saying thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Jones Intercable Game of the Week. The Jones Intercable Game of the Week is brought to you by Giordano's Restaurant and Pizzeria, located at 455 West Roosevelt Road in Glen Ellen. Enjoy their world-famous stuffed pizza, pickup or delivery.